I think it's good.
Yeah, I see the live.
No, it looks like you've got the
Sure.
agenda.
Yeah, lately it's a lot of the agenda has been with a lot of stuff I've brought up, mostly because the license compliance has been a little bit trickier of the component and the last one that we need to get in. So I wanted to thank Jeremy and Becca for kind of going through that giant epic I created. I know it was a little bit confusing because there were two of them, but thanks kind of for going through and providing feedback. So I want to follow up with that feedback I got. I experimented with a couple of those ideas, and then I want to kind of walk through what worked and what kind of isn't working. So I'm going to share my screen, and let me make sure I select the right one. Okay. So I'm trying to give a high level summary. So we have this license compliance widget. This one over here is the bottom one is the original one. So in particular, there are a couple, I only want to look at one thing in this case. So we had this idea of having this license compliance. Its purpose is to detect licenses in the project. And we have these classifications. If it's an allowed license, if it's one that is detected but hasn't been categorized yet, and ones that are denied. And the denied ones have a special behavior. If they're denied, then this merge request should be blocked. There are exceptions. So if there's a license check approval rule, then you can override that by having a, security approval approve the MR. In this case, we're just looking at the UI in terms of showing, hey, this is a detected license, and these are all the packages in your project that use it. Now, sometimes you may have one package use a particular license. Sometimes you may have 10, 20, 30. I think the largest one I've seen is 900. So the ask was, at least from what I've heard from Nicole, the product manager for compositional analysis, was that all she really cared about in this view ideally would be for the denied licenses a way to see all the packages that are associated to this denied license. And then I'm going to try to summarize the discussions that we had. But Jeremy had mentioned that couldn't we do something like, I'm trying to pull up the thing here, having the license and then a link that says, 50 more, and have it click to go to the full report. So I was able to come up with that design. I was able to implement that design. So this screenshot here is actually that, used by 24 packages, used by 23 packages, and it will link you to the full report. You still need to then look and search for that license in the full report and then kind of have that view, but there's a pathway there. My only concern now is I need to follow up with Nicole because, we might have to compromise here, but I think what she wanted them was to see the not collapse state for all of the ones, and then have maybe a link to go to it. And that's what this looks like. So that there's a bug open to fix this kind of padding issue, but the alignment just becomes a nightmare because, the way it's implemented now in the core extension framework, it will kind of wrap around. So even if we fix this padding, it's, it'll be on one line. If it's long enough, it'll wrap to the second, it'll get pushed down to the second line. But then the links that we have available, I guess the actions for the level 2 components, are all pushed to the side. But you can see for this line, Apache license 2.0, this is the supporting text down here. And these are the action button that's related to it. So we have these weird, quirky edge cases that I don't think we've accounted for, just because, we haven't experimented with every possible, size of content. But I guess what I was calling out is something that we should be aware of. So I guess I'm trying to think how to phrase this. I think what I'm going to try to push for, so we could get license compliance in this milestone, is propose to Nicole if we can compromise and go with this current existing rendition where we're getting a count of number of packages. And if you want to dig further, you could click to it and you'll see the full report. I'm going to try to push for that because this other solution isn't, it's not accommodating for different, scale of content. The only tricky thing is if I get pushback, I don't know what the team recommends in terms of hey, if we can't ship with this because it's not useful, for license compliance, is the alternative to ship all the other MR widgets minus license compliance and what would that look like? Because I know we had a test project where we had extensions enabled, and then the original legacy ones, you know, we could, I don't know visually if that would work in production when we roll it out. Like, what is our option even to ship out without license compliance, or do I need to go back to Nicole and be like, hey, we really need to just find a middle ground here?
If you don't mind me jumping in, Fernando,
Yeah.
on some of the design stuff, what I still might be able to work with what we have today, in the sense that if you took that the second one that highlights the layout issues, instead of using that action area for linking to the full report, just still have the text in line as like an underlined link, so that regardless of the wrap, that's always just at the end of that just says, like, you know, and used by blah blah blah, or 10 more, whatever, or show 10 more, show all, whatever that might be.
I think,
but
oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, but so back to like the original design, but just keeping that link in line rather than leveraging the action area. Thoughts on that?
So the link in line, I think, so if I may, like, the implementation is 3 parts. So this first link, in terms of like in the code, it's I think it's like a link. This is the middle part, of supporting text, is whatever supporting text comes after the link, and then the last part is actions. So you really have these 3 areas you can kind of utilize. So are you suggesting that like this text down here should be moved as, should be the link, the action, or are you saying, because I can't turn this middle piece into a link? It's like, my understanding, it's each row, it's going to be link, supporting text, action.
But with the framework, like, links are allowed in that middle part, I guess is my point.
I'm trying
And
to,
so
okay.
if let me I'm gonna pull up Figma here.
Well, I think there's also like, there's the discrepancy where I think Figma supports some of these design concepts, but then the implementation isn't 100% on par. And I think there are slight gaps there, because there was another issue where I asked if we could do like a tooltip in the header, and then I think Phil said that, like, hey, I have an MR that will allow us to do that, but it's not quite there yet. So I just wanted to call that out as you review these.
Okay. Yeah. What we can talk to him, if you don't mind, really quick. I'll just for a visual reference here. So this is the accessibility widget. So, you know, they have kind of a learn more that's in line and underlined for accessibility purposes, without any action. Another example would be, what is this? This is like code quality. So it has their message, and then like this in, you know, like where you can find it. So that's all inline. So I would see this being similar, where with license compliance, you know, you can have the list of things and then say, and 10 more, you know, it's just appended to the end of that text. And in that way, let's see if there's any others that do that. And that way it's just part of that inline text there, like some of these other ones are using, and so it doesn't have to be a separate action, but it's really just tied to that part. So it looks kind of a lot like what you have today. You know,
I think, okay. I still think, no, that's fine. I'll give that a go to kind of clean it up a bit. But I think where I'm at now is, the concern is that I need to follow up with Nicole, because it's like, ideally, I think she wants to have the denied licenses there front and center and visible. And if you have to click to go find it in another page, that's where she's like, I would rather not do that. So like, either we hold off license compliance till we, you know, figure out an alternative solution that everyone's happy with, or we say, hey, or she's like, hey, okay, that's fine for now, but we should circle back and figure this out later. So I'll follow up with that, because that will determine whether or not we can push forward with license compliance in this milestone. So my follow-up to that is, while we're figuring that out, if for some reason we cannot ship license compliance, are we still planning to enable the flag next milestone? If so, like, I need to start digging into like how, my concern is that, let me share my screen again. If we enable the legacy license compliance widget and then the extensions, I haven't checked in a while, but I don't know how that layout would look. Is it just two concurrent containers? And I don't know how that would mesh with, like, are we going to see the merge request section twice? I forget if this is part of the extensions, or if that's just separate. So I need to, there might be more overhead in trying to support, all the new extensions and then that one-off license compliance, which may not even be worth the effort. So I need to kind of dig in engineering wise. I don't know, Yannick, do you from the front end, do you remember how it looks like when we had both legacy and the new stuff enabled in the test project?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know for all of the widgets, but I definitely know that for the license compliance, for example, it will show one or the other. Like that is the way the widget deals with the logic of the feature flag, and that is the way it should be for all of the
and
extensions as well.
That's the current behavior, yeah. But I remember earlier on, before we had that feature flag logic figured out, we should both. I'll dig into it. Okay, so what I'll do is, I don't want to take up people's time. I'll play around with your, your suggestion of moving around the content so it's more inline. If I can't, I'll follow up with Phil if I need help doing that. But if that's not enough, then in terms of like showing the dependency list, I'll ping you guys. I'll ping the team in the channel or something, because then I'll have to start looking into if we can even roll this out cleanly without roll out license compliance, the legacy one with the new extensions. We're not blocking the release. My main concern is I don't want our group to block this initiative, whether we ship it as it as legacy component or for license compliance or everything together. So I think I'll follow up on that. Do we know if we're still aiming to enable this next milestone? I don't know what the roadmap is for that, because there were discussions in Slack. I'm just trying to gauge, how much I should advocate on my team, because a lot of the stuff I'm working now isn't technically even planned, it was deferred. So I need to go back to my engineering manager and kind of get them up to speed. So do we have a feeling that if we would enable this next milestone, is that?
I have to check with probably Marcel, given that Andre's out, or someone. I think the goal, and I think based on the last meeting, is to enable it as soon as possible. But I think they can coexist from what I know. I think, and I linked in the chat, there's an MR, one of the example MRs has both an old and new widget inside of it. So I think they coexist. And it shouldn't be a problem if the feature flag comes on. Okay. But yeah, we can double check with Marcel.
Cool. That's all I had, and thanks everyone for feedback. I don't know if there were trying to think. I think that's all I had. And thanks again, Jeremy, for taking that time to go through everything with Becca. It's been immensely helpful.
Yeah. If anything else is needed, just ping me. So I don't have any PTO for thing. So and also if it's timely, just do it on Slack too. And if you need any support with prototypes or whatever, I can help.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah, thanks everyone. I don't know if there was anything else. I don't think there's much of anything else. I'll go back and close out the issues that we came to a conclusion on. I think I started doing that. So any of the issues I'd open up to support license compliance that we found all workarounds already or is already supported, I'll close them out to reduce the noise. The ones that might need follow up on, I'll just leave open. But I think we're in good shape otherwise.
Awesome.